I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I'm late to the trend, but I need to tell this. So a long time ago, I was on vacations with my family in Mexico. And usually we have direct flights from Mexico to Lisbon. Yes, I'm Portuguese. And yeah, we had a direct flight from Lisbon to Cancun, and we were supposed to also have a direct flight from Cancun to Lisbon, but there were problems. So instead, we needed to do a stop in the United States. So when we stop at the United States and they ask to see our passports, things got confusing. Because when the policemen took our passports for the control for checking, they said that we could not pass because our passports were wrong. He says that where it says country, it should be Spain because Portugal is not a country, but a city from Spain.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
Where do I begin? So I was raised in the state of New York and originally from Ecuador, South America. And when I was about 12 years old, we moved to the South, specifically the state of Atlanta, Georgia. On my first day of school, everybody seemed really excited to meet me. And they were like, oh, originally, where are you from? And of course, I'm like, oh, I'm from Ecuador. And guess what they said? Ecuador, where is that even, from? Is that, a place in Mexico? Is that, close to, Mexico? Where in Mexico is that? And then when I finally explained that it was in South America and that it's located exactly on the equator, they were still really confused. They were like, if Mexicans are from Mexico, what do they call your people? I'm like, oh, I'm Ecuadorian. Ecuadorian? What the hell does that even mean? Ecuador?
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So while I was a student, I was a tour guide for the Parliament of Canada. So you would walk people around, show the different rooms, explain what the architecture was about. So we got to the House of Commons, and there's 3 sets of doors. The French, the English, and the Canadian doors. So the 2 different colonizing cultures that came together to create Canada to enter through the Canadian doors. And then the American tourist comes up to me and full out seriously asked me, where are the American doors? Well, aren't we part of your, founding you? Where are our doors? And I had to just, stared at him, why would there be American doors again? And he looked back at me, and he was also confused at his own question. And we just kind of stared at each other until I just, wandered away.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
I got a story for you guys, and guess what? It's also a racist story. I'm gonna try to do my makeup at the same time. So I was getting into a debate with this guy at the bar about refugees and immigration, and at one point he kept calling me Mexican, and I am not Mexican. I have Chilean descent, but I am not from Mexico. At one point he tells me I don't belong in this country, and I'm like, well then who belongs in this country, right? The natives, right? So I decide he's not worth my time, and I go back into my 6-foot-tall friends that would literally beat someone up for me. And I don't tell him what just happened because I'm trying to save this guy from getting an ass beat. Less than 5 minutes later, my friend comes in, Jamel, 6-foot-tall Jamaican dude. He comes in, he says, my hand hurts, and I'm like, what happened? This guy I was just talking to, he called him the N-word, and I realized that day that I cannot save someone from an ass beating that the universe is trying to give them. It's not my place.
I'm kind of curious, what is the dumbest thing an American has ever said to you?
So I'm a customer service agent, and an American guy had called in. We quickly started talking, and I mentioned that I was from Cape Town. He tried to mention a few places in Cape Town that he could remember. So he mentioned Table Mountain, and he started talking about the animals that we have, like the lions that roam the earth. And then he quickly said that he can remember that we had a natural disaster called apartheid. At first I thought he was talking about the ocean, but then I realized that he thought apartheid was a natural disaster. So I quickly moved the conversation away from that topic, and I asked him if I could further assist him on his account. Because, what?
Okay, we've all seen the Stitch. That's the guy saying, what's the dumbest thing an American's ever said to you? I want to know, if you're an American, what's the dumbest thing a non-American ever said to you, like about America, that you were just like, oh, you've never actually known anything about the realities of America. You've only ever watched our television shows. I'm gonna go first. I had a roommate, this was in Canada, she was Canadian, who told me that because my mother got her medical degree in America, her definition of healthy was not actual health. It was different from the Canadian doctor version of healthy. My mother wasn't actually a health expert. My mother did her undergrad at the same Canadian school I went to.